course my boy Rook won. What'd you expect? He's not going to lose to some nobody. Yo, what up, guys? It's your boy Legendary here. And today, people, we're going to be reviewing episode 5 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Unfortunately, there's going to be hiatus, so for however long the next few weeks, I don't know, we're not going to be getting any more 7s episodes, so it is what it is. But, so this is the last episode we're going to get for a while. So, but this was a pretty good one in my opinion. I liked it. It was fun like usual, just like all of the other episodes have been fun. So let's just hop right into the basic gist of the episode. So essentially, the episode starts off where Gakuto's looking on the internet for Rush videos, and he's freaking out because all the videos have been deleted. So he's showing Rook, and basically Goha has been deleting all the videos from YouTube essentially. And even if you go on Google or whatever and look up Rush Duels, there are 0 search results. So they've been doing their job, making sure that Rush Duels are completely like deleted from the internet in general. So yeah, so that's what's going on. And then what happens after that is the newspaper club of the school basically goes up to the group and is interviewing them to write a report on them, you know, like talking about Rush Duels and stuff and this and that. So he's talking to Rook and stuff, and Rook is doing his usual Rookness, and he's like just talking about how amazing Rush Duels are, and you know, acting all tough and cool and this and that, like he usually does. You guys know him. You know, he has that funny personality where he just likes to like kind of show off, but in a funny way. So it's kind of cool. So I really enjoyed that scene as well. All the Rook scenes are always great, and this is like also kind of like a Rook focused episode because he duels in this episode and stuff. But so they write a report on this whole Rush Duel thing, and then we skip forward. I think the next day the report goes out, and they wrote a bunch of bad stuff about the group and about Rush Duels, and so they lied. So actually, Roman foreshadowed this right before that. He said, "Are you sure you want to do an interview with the newspaper club? They don't have the best reputation." And then we find out that they pretty much bagmouthed Rush Duels and the group in general, and they basically just called Rush Dueling shallow and for kids, which is kind of a fourth wall breaking commentary on Rush Duels, because that's probably what all the players in real life think. They're like, oh, Rush Duels, you get to do multiple normal summons, and you know, you get to draw until you have 5 cards every turn and stuff like that. Like, these rules seem like they're for kids. They're super easy to understand, and you know, they seem very childish. I feel like that's a meta commentary on how the competitive players and how the world sees Rush Duels, and aren't really giving it a real chance. They're just bag-mouthing and saying, oh no, this is trash and this and that. So I feel like they're commenting on that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what they're kind of like commenting on. And so, you know, they start a problem. So Rook and the whole group go up to the newspaper club in their school, in their little office or their room or whatever, and they're basically telling them, you know, why did you lie and this and that. And they're just sleazy, that newspaper club. You know, they just make up stuff and kind of ruin people's names and stuff. Apparently, that's kind of like what they do. But they do honestly believe that Rush Duels are for kids and are just not important. Like, they do believe that, and they, you know, are okay with trashing it. So then Yuga was kind of being like smart or whatever, and he's like, oh, well, we're being watched by Goha Corporation, and if someone scans this newspaper and puts it online, then that means the Goha Corporation might come down here and shut down your newspaper club completely. So he was kind of doing that to kind of get under their skin and get them nervous or whatever. So that was pretty smart of him right there. And then Roman and everybody else, they were just kind of playing along with it just to scare them, you know, just to get under their skin, to kind of get them to stop. And then the green-haired kid out of nowhere, you know, he's like the quiet one in the background. He doesn't say anything, and all of a sudden he freaks out when he hears that the newspaper club is possibly going to be terminated or whatever. So he freaks out, and then all of a sudden he gets really serious. He shows his true colors or whatever. He flicks his hair back, and he has a serious look on his face. And he basically reveals that he's kind of like the leader of the newspaper club. You wouldn't be able to tell because he looked like he was in the background, but no, he's actually the leader. He's kind of just in disguise or whatever, and just kind of like pretending to be the quiet one. But he's the true leader of the newspaper club. He got really serious all of a sudden. And then he challenges them to a duel. He says that the newspaper club can't come to an end, so he challenges them to a duel and says, all right, if we win the duel, the newspaper club wins the duel, basically you guys won't go through with shutting down the newspaper club, and we could say whatever we want or whatever. And then if they win, they have to basically shut down their newspaper club, or at the very least get rid of that report and say that they were lying or whatever. So then Yuga asks Bakuro, that's the name of the green-haired kid. So Yuga asks Bakuro, what are the rules that we're going to be playing with in this duel? So Bakuro says rush duels. So he's actually going to, his goal is basically to defeat them in rush duels and prove that rush duels are shallow and for kids, and there's nothing really to them, and they're just kind of ridiculous and not really a fun game or whatever. So he's just there to prove that rush duels is garbage, pretty much. So then, Yuga's about to accept the duel, but then Rook goes in and he says, no, I'm going to be the one that protects rush duels. I don't care what they say about me, but I'm going to protect rush duels, because he actually believes in rush duels. He really does. You could tell throughout all these episodes that he believes in this rush duel mechanic, and he wants to have this spread, and he wants to be the best one, the best rush duelist or whatever. But he does he does appreciate rush dueling and respects it. So Rook takes the lead, and he's gonna duel. So the duel begins. It's very simple. It starts off with Bakuro's turn. He just sets a monster in 3 back row. What I really like about this duel, before I get into the play-by-play, I know some people might not like the play-by-play, but that's how I process the episode, because I'm very big on dueling. So I pay attention to the play-by-play, and that, for me personally, I'm very interested in the play-by-play of the duel, because I do my own scripts. So keep that in mind. The play-by-play, to me, the duel itself is just as important to me as the reason why they're dueling, because it shows a lot in a duel for me. But anyway, so what I love about this duel is that it was actually a very, very intense duel. It was probably the most intense duel so far out of all of them, in my personal opinion, and I'll explain why at the end, why I thought this duel was really intense. But anyway, so yeah, he sets 3 back rows, sets 1 monster face down, ends his turn. Rook goes, he normal summons 3 of his dragon monsters. He activates a spell card that allows him to pierce, and then his monster goes in, pierces his defense position monster, has low defense. He takes piercing damage, and then he attacks directly with one of his other monsters. And then Bakuro activates a trap card that when a monster is destroyed, his opponent takes 300 points of effect damage, and then the battle phase ends. So that's not a bad card. At first I thought it was just inflict 300, which is kind of weak. But then again, the cards in rush duels are a lot weaker because they're in the beginning stages, because it's starting from scratch. So it makes sense that these cards are weaker, so I have to keep that in mind, that they're not going to have the most busted effects. But being able to burn for 300 and end the battle phase is still pretty good. It's not that bad. So he ends the battle phase. Then Bakuro goes, and he basically is able to summon his ace monster, and then he's able to summon 2 more copies of his ace monster. So he has 3 copies, like 3 blue eyes basically. So he has 3 copies of his ace monster. So Bakuro's ace monster is called Newsflash Machine Toughroid. So I'm assuming this is a Roid monster similar to the Roid monsters of Show from GX. So I guess this is a reference to the Roid archetype, but this is like a new type of Roid. It's a newspaper Roid monster. It's kind of cool because when it attacks, it absorbs the monster and then prints it out on a piece of paper, and that's how it kind of kills it in battle. So it's kind of funny. It's interesting. But yeah, so he summons his ace monster. He summons 2 more copies of his ace monster. His ace monster's effect is, I think he can discard 1 card from his hand or 1 card from the top of his deck to excavate the top 5 cards of his opponent's deck. And then for each monster that he drew, Toughroid gains 100 attack for each monster that he drew. And then the cards go back into the deck, and then they get shuffled. So now, or they go to the bottom of the deck. So one of the 5 cards that he drew, that Rook drew, was his ace monster, Rush Dragon Dragears. So then it got sent to the bottom of the deck. They didn't actually say that that was part of the effect, but that's what was said in the episode. But anyway, it goes to the bottom of the deck. So now he kind of, in a sense, locked down his ace monster by removing it from his hand and putting it in the bottom, so that way he has a harder time getting it, or so he won't get it at all. But anyway, so he gains attack points. He's now at 2600 attack. Then he starts attacking like crazy. He attacks all of Rook's monsters, and I think he destroys them all. Yeah, he destroys all his monsters by battle, does a bunch of damage, and then Rook is about to lose the duel with that last attack, but then Rook activates this trap card where he is able to pick a card in his graveyard, a monster in his graveyard, and reduce his opponent's monster's attack by 100 for each level of that monster. So he selected one of his monsters that was a level 3, so Toughroid goes back down to 300. So then Rook's monster is destroyed, he takes some damage, but he still has 100 life points left. And also throughout the duel, Bakuro's making fun of Rush Duels because he's basically saying that, oh, I have a hard time memorizing rules and stuff. So the fact that even I was able to memorize these completely easy rules prove that this game is very shallow, that these new rules are very shallow. So he obviously, it's once again just like this meta commentary thing. But I mean, that's the point of Rush Duels. It's supposed to be simple for everyone to understand. Anyone can make a comeback at any point. Doesn't matter how new you are. It's simple and easy to understand. That's the whole point. But I guess he calls that shallow, which is what the world calls shallow. But whatever. My boy Rook, he's going to prove him wrong right now. He's going to come right back. So he has 100 life points. That's usually the moment where the main character usually comes back and wins. You guys already know how this works. So Rook makes this really cool scene that right after, you know, Bakuro's going on bragging about his turn and what he did and this and that, talking trash about Rush Duels. So Rook basically says, oh, you're calling Rush Duels shallow, right? Maybe after this I'll change your mind. And he gets super serious right there. And then he goes, we look at his hand, and he was able to draw his ace monster Dragears because his deck got shuffled with the effect of that trap card. I think that's... So I think the trap card, what it does is it sends a monster from your graveyard back to your deck, and then it shuffles the deck. So because the deck got shuffled, he was able to draw his ace monster again, and he was able to pull it out. So that's cool. He got his ace monster back, plus some new monsters, which we're going to see right now. So the first thing that Rook does is he activates the spell card called Dragonic Pressure, where he discards 3 dragons from his hand to the graveyard to destroy all monsters on the field. So he destroys all of Bakuro's monsters. Then Bakuro activates a trap card of when a machine type monster is destroyed, he can bring back one of his machines from the graveyard. So he brings back his ace onto the field. Rook activates the effect of his dragons in the graveyard that he discarded. So they have effects that special summon themselves from the graveyard. They didn't specifically say what those effects were, unfortunately, but I guess that's what they do based on what they showed. I'm surprised that they didn't really say what the effects do. They usually do in Yu-Gi-Oh, but in this case they didn't. So his 2 monsters, they kind of work hand in hand. He special summons one from the grave, and then the other one gets special summoned, I think, when you control the other one on the field. But yeah, so he special summons 2 monsters. He tributes them both off to summon his ace Dragears. He sends his top card of his deck to the graveyard so it could attack twice. So then Rook does this really cool epic speech where he's like, if you say that you're trying to report the truth, let me treat you to the real truth. And he's gonna beat him down. Ooh, it's gonna be good. So yeah, he goes in, he attacks his monster. His monster is destroyed. He takes some damage, and then he attacks directly and finishes him off, turns to ashes. So then Bakuro, he's defeated. He gets back up, and he says that he's gonna report the truth, and he admits that he had fun and that Rush Duels is actually really fun, and that he was wrong about Rush Duels in general. So now he's gonna report the truth. He actually had a really good time playing Rush Duels. So then Roman goes up to the newspaper club, takes the microphone away from them, and, you know, just she's being really funny and says, oh, okay, so how do you guys feel about losing the whole time? Because throughout the whole duel, they would keep going up to Rook and saying, oh, well, how do you feel about that play? How do you feel about taking that damage? So they were kind of mocking him the whole time, so now she's mocking them. So that's really funny. But it doesn't matter. So they pretty much say that from now on they're gonna tell the truth about Rush Duels, and, you know, say that they had a fun time. And they asked them, hey, could you guys please not take down the newspaper club? And Yuga says, no, we're not gonna do that. And for whatever reason, Rook, Roman, and Gakuto were kind of shocked by that. I don't know why. And then Yuga's just like, well, you know, I mean, so I don't know. I guess they expected him to still go through with it. I don't know. Based on Yuga's character, it makes sense that he wouldn't care about that. He doesn't really care about destroying people's careers or anything like that. You know, he wants people to do what they want, but he just wants everyone to enjoy Rush Duels. So since everyone enjoyed Rush Duels in this episode, since Rush Duels kind of ignited that flame inside of Bakuro and the newspaper club, now, you know, he got what he wanted. So they say thank you for not shutting down their newspaper club and whatnot, and that's pretty much it. And then after that, they write a new newspaper talking about the truth about Rush Duels, how fun it was, and this and that. And yeah, and that was pretty much the episode, I think. Let me see if there was anything else. Oh yeah, and then there was like a funny joke at the very end where apparently Rook told the newspaper club to write this report where it shows this picture of like a king and his servants of a king and his servants, and then they kind of photoshopped the head of Rook and all the other characters on the different characters. And Rook is obviously the king. You have Gakuto and Roman as the servants fanning him, and then you have Yuga in a picture frame as one of the jesters, I guess. Like, so it's just funny. So Rook is just goofing around like usual. He obviously just thinks he's the best and this and that. So it was just ended off on a nice funny joke. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Very simple. I probably could have cut it down real short, but like I said, I enjoy doing the play-by-play. I love the duel, so I want to talk about the duel. Because to me, the duel is equally as important to me as everything else going on. And the duel kind of shows a lot. So anyway, like I was saying, this duel was actually very intense, more so than the other ones. The other duels was just kind of very simple and straightforward. But in this duel, it was kind of cool because Bakuro showed a lot of like skill in this duel. It was very simple and he was making fun of it, but he was able to show a lot of skill. I mean, this is the first time we've ever seen anyone summon like multiple level 7 monsters in one turn. Usually it's just like, oh, you know, summon a bunch of low level monsters, tribute them off to summon one level 7 or higher monster. But no, in this case, his deck was actually really good, and he was able to use like his different spells and traps to summon like 3 copies of his ace monster, and then, you know, do a bunch of damage and bring Rook down to 100. So I don't know, Bakuro did a really good job. I was very impressed. I thought this was a very intense duel, and just it was really well done. I liked it. I thought the duel was great, and then Rook's final comeback was obviously amazing. It was great. He managed to draw his ace and, you know, turn everything around, destroy all of his monsters, and just everything. I just liked everything about it. It was a more epic, like, it was just a more epic and intense duel in my opinion. Let me know if you guys agree. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed all the other duels before that, but there was something about this one, like it started to feel a little bit more action-packed. It wasn't as simple and as straightforward. It was a little bit more action-packed. There was more monster effects and spells and traps being activated, so there was more strategy involved. So that's why I like this duel, because it's showing that we're starting to get to the more strategic duels in the future, and it's not just as simple as normal summoning a bunch of monsters and attacking. You know, they just did that early on just to ease people in, but now we're going to start getting into hopefully more strategic duels, combos, and strategies for these characters. So that's good. I can't wait to see that. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought. Did you find this episode funny? Did you think the duel was great? What did you think of Bakuro, the newspaper club? Did you not like this episode? Why did you or did you not like it? But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought. My boy Rook won, just as I thought he would. I'm always going to blindly vote for my boy Rook. Obviously, he's going to lose at some point, but for now, I'm going to keep voting for him because that's my boy. It's my favorite character so far. Anyway, guys, God bless you guys. See you guys in the next video. Gotcha!